In this video, we're going to discuss how we can customize gradients. I've got the gradient tool activated. We do have a lot of different gradients here, so we're going to start with one that's already existing. It does make it a little bit easier just to begin with a specific color. So we've got this one, and the way that it works is you'll just double click right there on that gradient. I don't know if you noticed how I clicked, but just right on top of the gradient, just double click and it allows you to access the gradient editor. And so from there, obviously you still have a choice to be able to choose from various presets. You will notice right here a name. So once you edit this gradient, you have the ability to save it as something different. With that said, you do have a lot of different options here. If you decide you want a noise gradient, it's very different. More than likely that's not going to be very common, but that's what that option there for the gradient type is for. So a solid gradient basically is going to give you the option to change different paint or color stops. And these color stops basically allow you to choose different colors. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to change that to this purplish blue color. We can go ahead and change it. And you also have the ability to change this one, so you can change any of your colors. So you will be able to customize this gradient as much as you need. The other thing is right here you've got a diamond, and this diamond will basically allow you to change how much this gradient is transitioning from one color to the next. And you will notice that if you need to change this one, you're just going to click on this other color stop. Now, if you're wondering what these up here at the top are for, they are for your opacity. And so if you click on it, you can now change your opacity down to something a lot lighter. So you do have the ability to change opacity on any side. Now, you may be in a position also where you want to be able to either add more opacity in a different place or more color in a different place. You can click anywhere and just add a color stop, and then you can change that one, just as we did the others. Okay, so it is a lot of fun to play around with. You can just enjoy learning to make custom gradients and have a lot of control over it. But it is one of those things that does take time to master and to do a really good job with it. So it is going to be important for you to understand how to control this gradient tool. Once you are complete, though, you are able to basically save this, and you will be able to just say new and then save it within your Photoshop. Because I have it activated right now, I can use it, so I can basically, let's just make a selection first. So we have a confined area, and we can get our gradient tool. And I've got, let's start with the radial gradient. And you'll see it does take some testing to perfect it. So if you find that some of these colors are a little bit too abrupt, that's where you would want to test your gradient and learn how to basically transition between various colors. But gradients do offer a lot of opportunities for you to do a lot more, so I do want to make sure you understand how to customize those. And again, just to get to the gradient editor, you would just click on that gradient itself and then be able to edit it further. So from there, you are going to have to be able to learn other ways that we can implement gradients. So let's just go ahead and let's delete this layer. And you're going to see under the adjustment layers here, we can add a new adjustment layer that's called gradient. And what's cool about this is it allows you to add an adjustment layer based off of this gradient fill. So it's going to fill your layer with this gradient, and of course you have masking that you could use as needed. So you could choose, you know, any of these gradients that we've got. Let's just pick one of these cool blue ones, and then it fills the entire space with it. Now once you select or commit to it, it allows you to edit this gradient further so that you can choose any type of gradient. Okay, and once you say okay at any point, you can come back to this and just edit. So just know that adjustment layers are another way that you can implement gradients, and you may also notice them in a few other places in Photoshop, like in layer styles and stuff. So anytime you do have the option to apply a gradient, all of these gradients here are going to be available to you. So those are the two most common ways you're going to implement a gradient is, you know, through the layers and just the gradient tool, or through the adjustment layer gradient fill. So I hope that helps out so that you have a lot more control over being able to apply gradients to various things in Photoshop, so you have a lot more control.